Peace, everybody. How you doing? My name is Jasir Franklin. I am the creator of post-traumatic hood disorder, but I'm coming today to talk to you about Chech the Rhyme. Now, what is Chech the Rhyme? And why is Chech the Rhyme important even, right? Well, Chech the Rhyme is a youth-based curriculum created to help youth understand how music influences their behavioral patterns. How do we do this? Well, through the study of the mind, scientists, spiritualists alike have discovered how music can influence the mind, because you have to hear it, which is one of the senses that we have, right? That the brain uses to process the vibration of that thing we're hearing, and how your mind has to make up a decision of what to do with that information that it's receiving. Now, once your mind decides what to do, and it does it over and over and over again, when it hears that same thing, that becomes a program. And when that becomes a program, you can kind of predict what a person's going to do when they hear a certain song, or when they hear someone say something similar to it. They react and respond according to the program that they created. Now, if your child is behaving in a certain way, I challenge you to grab their iPhone that you're paying for and check out their playlist and listen to it and tell me, could this be influencing their behavior? Now, for those of you who don't believe you are completely in control of your mind, music can never influence your mind. It can never influence what you're into, what you want to do. Let me ask you this question. When you hear a good slow jam that reminded you of that moment, if you know what I mean, does that put you in the mood? When you hear your favorite song of all time, doesn't it remind you of an emotion or a time and period where you lived, and it just reminds you of how good that felt? What about when you were heartbroken and you heard that song that helped you get through that heartbreak moment? Doesn't it remind you of that moment in time attached to that feeling? Don't some music make you want to get up and just dance and groove and have a party? Don't some music kind of make you sad and want to be kind of like laid back and chill and just kind of be in your thoughts? Music influences the time and the mind. Now, when I say music influences the time, I want you to do me a favor. Go back to the 60s. Go back to the 50s. Go back to the 40s. Go back to the 30s. Go back to any time period in time. Within that decade, let's get a soundtrack for that decade, and then let's let's parallel it to the society of that time. I guarantee you, if you look at the music, it's going to parallel what was going on in that time. 60s, civil rights movement. What do we have? James Brown, Marvin Gaye, Donny Hathaway. We had all of these artists speaking up out about the injustices of African Americans in America. Let's go to the 70s. What do we have? Disco, drugs, partying, fun, celebrations, right? All the music. Let's go on to the 80s. On the tail end of disco, you had the funk. And then funk and disco gave birth to hip hop. And then you have hip hop, Run DMC. Run DMC comes out with one song called My Adidas. And every black kid in the country had to have a pair of shell-toe Adidas. Then we come into the era of the late 80s, where hip hop became more conscious than ever. You had groups like Public Enemy, Brand Nubian, X-Clan, Def Jeff on the West Coast. You had a lot of different African American groups that were coming out rapper-wise and influencing the culture to say, hey, let's educate ourselves. Let's do better. Let's go to college. Let's do things and uplift ourselves, and Black Power. At the tail of the 80s into the 90s, the introduction, the over-glamorization of this thing we call gangster rap happened. See, it came out with NWA first, but actually Schoolie D and Ice-T put it together first. But NWA made it popular. And then when NWA split, Death Row formed. And when Death Row formed, they dropped the single-handed most important but most detrimental album of hip-hop history that changed the trajectory of hip-hop forever. Guess what album that was? Yeah, you got it. The Chronic. You see, the Chronic album alone was responsible for lifting the drug arrest rates up 97%. They boosted the murder rate by 56%. This album came out, introduced us all to this misogynistic concept. I'm not saying that they were the only ones who do it or the authors of it, because there's old artists who did the same thing, singers and rappers alike. But this particular album became the centerpiece of what we're talking about, because it introduced a lot of stuff: weed, gangbanging, and drug selling and drug using and misogynistic things, like I said. It introduced a lot. Now, if you look at that album, then look at the music today. These kids are on the residue of the Chronic album. And now we have a whole generation of kids who don't know who they are, that think all they have to do is get high and live life, have sex, and do all of these things that's never going to serve their purpose. Well, that is why Chech the Rhyme is here. You see, Chech the Rhyme takes all that information that your children hear every day, and we do what we call a bar exam. We examine the content of the music that they're listening to. And then we turn around and give it back to them so that they can see it in a different way, without the rhythm, without the memory of why it came into their consciousness. But we're going to bring it to them so they can see it literally. Majority of the time, they're embarrassed by what they hear. This is a class, a course, a workshop that if you are a parent and you want to save your child, if you care about children in general and you want to see other children, maybe you're a part of an organization, maybe you just want to get your niece and nephew involved because you see they're having challenges, or you just want to help them and be preventative, this is the workshop that you must get your kids involved. We are partnering with LA County Parks and Recs. We're going to be doing series at Ladera Park in Los Angeles, and then we're going to be doing some at the Irving Magic Johnson Center. So if your child is between the ages of 14 to 19, this is for them. Now, why that age? Because they're in high school pretty much, or in their first year of college pretty much. That first year of college can be very tricky, right? If they go to college. But that first year of college can be very tricky because you're transitioning from a childhood perspective into an adult arena almost. And if you come from the hood, that's a difficult transition at times. And the music is usually a narrative of where you came from. But they don't know they're planting seeds that will infect their garden forever. And the garden lies where? In the mind. Listen, I'm done preaching. So at this point, if you made it this far, I think I have captured your interest enough to understand that this is a good program that needs to happen. There is no other program that I have ever heard of on this level. Each season is about 7 to 8 weeks. All right. So once you sign up, and you sign up for free, how can you beat this? Like, why would you give away for free? Like, why would you give this away for free? Right? Like, what is he going to get out of this for free? It's not about me. It's about me and having an understanding that there are children out here that are being neglected. We live in Los Angeles. They're building arena after arena for the Lakers, for the Clippers, for the Rams, for the Dodgers, for whoever else, the soccer teams. Like, they're building all of these arenas for entertainment and shutting down schools at the same time. What message is that sending? You know your kids need to be in here. Stop playing. Go to healpthd.com right here. healpthd.com right there. And register right now.
The age of the ignorant rapper is done.
King Ruler the jeweler here to school ya.
The age of the ignorant rapper is done.
Do it for the culture, exterminate vultures everywhere. it's the same old thing. King Ruler interrupting old patterns to bring change.